Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go over the first officer-involved shooting of the year for APD, and with that, I'm going to have Chief Medina say a few words before Commander Hartsock goes through the presentation. Thanks.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks everybody for being here. We're going to be reviewing the first officer-involved shooting of the year, and this video is going to show a lot of different aspects of where the department has moved forward. I want to compliment the Real-Time Crime Center for their work the night of this incident. You're going to clearly see that the Real-Time Crime Center was able to give real-time updates to the officers who were on scene with the cameras that they had, and really advise the officers and give them good information that led to good tactics and to good decision making. It's unfortunate that this incident ended the way it ended, and that there was a loss of human life, but at the same time, our officers have to be able to defend themselves. And you know, a lot of times there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of scrutiny towards these officer-involved shootings, but I just want to take a step back and remind everybody that, you know, on the opposite end of every one of these officer-involved shootings are officers that are doing this job to make the community a better place and have families and friends back home that want to make sure that they're doing everything to protect themselves. And like I said, this incident here is going to have a lot of video, and you're going to truly see what the situation was for the officers and how this individual just continuously was armed and endangered the public in a lot of different ways. So thank you, and we're going to turn it over to Commander Hartsock.
My name is Commander Kyle Hartsock with the Criminal Investigations Division. We're here to go over an officer-involved shooting that occurred on January 25th, 2024 in the 2200 block of 6th Street Northwest. This critical incident community briefing will provide information about a male who was attempting to carjack two vehicles with a firearm and then pointed the firearm at responding officers, which resulted in an officer-involved shooting. You're about to see relevant video footage and photos and learn about other evidence and police procedures related to the case so you can have a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know right now. The police department conducts very thorough criminal and use of force investigations, which typically require investigators to interview multiple witnesses, review hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. We're still at the early stages of this investigation, which can often take several months to complete. Our understanding of the incident may change as additional evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. We also do not draw any conclusions about whether the officers acted consistently with our policies and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete. A word of caution, the images and video may be disturbing. When police officers use force to arrest a subject or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language by those shown in the video. One officer discharged their duty-issued rifle during this incident. It's Officer Tristan Garcia, who was assigned to the Valley Area Command, who has been with the police department since 2020 and does have one prior officer-involved shooting. Officer Garcia is returning back to active status within the next week or so. So she'll be back on duty in the same area command. The subject who was shot and killed by police was 38-year-old Joseph Baca, a resident of Albuquerque. This incident occurred in the Valley Area Command. The subject, Joseph Baca, was inside the Love's truck stop, sitting at a table with an acquaintance of his. The truck stop has a policy that if you're going to be sitting at the tables inside, which was right by a Subway restaurant, that you have to be eating food that was purchased there. Sorry. You're fine. You good? Security asked Joseph and the other male to leave the business. The other male, who was still unidentified at this point, left without any altercation. Joseph got upset and began a verbal altercation with security. Joseph then went into the restroom, came out, and the verbal altercation resumed with the security guard. Joseph then began breaking out windows inside the Love's truck stop and displayed a gun and started using the barrel of the handgun, put the barrel of the handgun to a female security guard's head. Joseph then walked into the parking lot of the Love's truck stop. We're going to play part of the 911 call from the truck stop.
Yeah, this is Love's on 6th Street. We just had somebody break our window. He's got a gun outside and he's waving it around.
As Joseph left the truck stop, still in an altercation with the security guards, he went on to 6th Street. As he did, a vehicle was driving up to turn into the truck stop, and Joseph pointed his firearm at the vehicle. The vehicle stopped in what appeared to be an attempted carjacking. The vehicle was able to drive around Joseph and continue driving north on 6th Street, parked a little bit up the road, and also called 911. No shots were fired during this interaction. We're going to play you part of that 911 call from the person inside the car, and we'll show you video of that in a minute.
911 emergency.
Hi, yes, there's a man in front of Lowe's who just shot a gun right at me and in front of the Lowe's gas station on 6th. He pointed a gun as I was driving and shot it towards the back of my car.
Okay, did you drive away?
I'm right now at the intersection. I see him walking behind a truck who's slowing down in front of the intersection of 40th, 40th and 6th. He's a bald man.
Is it the Love's truck stop?
The Love's truck stop, correct.
Anyone hurt or injured?
Looks like the truck slowed down and the tractor trailer looks like it's driving away. Right now I'm parked in the middle of the intersection. I see him just pacing back and forth right now in front of the Love's gas station.
Okay. Stay on the line with me, okay? We have some help already on the way.
Okay, sounds good.
Joseph then attempted to carjack a semi-truck who was exiting the Love's truck stop by pointing the gun at the driver. His verbal altercation with security is still going on at the same time, according to the security guards. The semi-truck does slow down and pause for a second, but eventually just continues its path driving south towards I-40. The driver of the semi-truck at this point has still not been identified. A real-time crime center camera at 6th Street and I-40 was being monitored live during the call and captured some of this incident. Here is the police radio transmissions between the officers responding and the real-time crime center, who again is watching live as some of this incident is unfolding. We'll play you the video.
Yeah,
270-10-4.
He's on 224 and George 26. We get the Love's truck up. Ongoing 10 minutes, SME. Suspect 38 is a business window, waving cameras. SME 3055, 150 bald, wearing a gray shirt. No other description on that suspect. The offender exited the property. Operator is advising them to spread the birds. Be there.
Unfortunately, Roger, they still have eyes now.
10-4.
Roger 16 to PD, that male subject with a weapon just tried to hit a vehicle. He's going to be in the middle intersection at 40 West on 6th Street.
I'm driving I-40 West on 6th Street. We're 10-4, PD, John 224 and George 226, 10-4.
10-4.
He's pointing the weapon at, it looks like a trailer. It appears he might be firing.
Confirming he's firing.
It appears that he's trying to have that vehicle stop to hijack the semi.
10-4, PD, John 224, 10-4, not 49.
With 10-4, can we check for air support, please?
That's 10-4, PD, air support, and any other unit that's clear to 82.
March 36 p.m.
Additional, he did try to hijack that other vehicle. That other vehicle appears to be just stationary, so I'm not sure if anyone was hurt.
This is some of the video that the real-time crime center was capturing, and again, you just heard their voice updating the officer, and now you're going to see some of the video they were observing during this time. In the video, Joseph, who's in a gray sweatshirt, walks on 6th Street Northwest in front of the truck stop with a handgun. He attempts to carjack a vehicle who drives away. That was our 911 caller. While that vehicle flees, Joseph actually throws his handgun at the car. A white semi-truck then leaves the parking lot, and Joseph again tries to carjack the semi-truck. The semi-truck momentarily stops, but also drives away, and Joseph, after he picked up his gun, now throws the handgun again at the semi-truck. This video has no audio. This video we're about to play to you actually comes from on-body recording from a private security guard who was working at the Love's gas station. The security guard initially, seeing Joseph armed, actually racks the slide on the firearm, but ejects a live casing out, which we would later recover to make sure his gun is loaded. And during his interaction with Joseph, told us he felt in fear and did shoot at least one time towards Joseph. The projectile does not hit Joseph. We did do a thorough search in the surrounding areas, and we could not recover the security guard's projectile, and we did not notice any damage in that area. So again, this is the security guard's video of him firing his gun at Joseph prior to officers arriving. We did receive a shot spotter notification of the security guard firing. This is the report that was generated showing the 1-round discharge from security towards Joseph. About to play you the video from Officer Garcia. Officer Garcia told MATF in his interview that he got out of his patrol unit, and as he did, he almost instantly heard a gunshot. We believe that gunshot he heard was that of the security guard firing. Officer Garcia and other officers ran up to the business and saw Joseph in the street, still armed with a gun. Joseph didn't comply with commands from officers to drop the weapon and surrender as he walked towards I-40 and then under the overpass. Officer Garcia stated he saw Joseph emerge from the bridge, still armed, take a shooting stance and start to raise the gun up towards himself and other officers. That is when an officer-involved shooting occurred. Here is Officer Garcia's video.
Drop the gun!
This is a continuation of the poll cam video we were just showing you that also captures the officer-involved shooting. Again, the camera angle is really on the I-40 overpass over 6th Street. Again, in this video, you're going to see officers start to arrive. There's no audio in this video. You can see the flashlight starting to display. And Joseph actually starts to pick up and throw large rocks in the direction while armed with a handgun. He does not comply with the officer's commands to surrender or drop the weapon. Joseph jogs southbound on 6th Street underneath the underpass. Again, he begins to walk up the incline of the underpass and then turns around and comes northbound towards officers and starts to point the gun towards them when the officer-involved shooting occurs. 2 shots were fired. You just heard them. 1 shot hit the subject. The other one, you might have been able to pick it up, hit a light pole in the area, and we'll show you a photo of that here shortly. So here's the real-time crime center video that was being watched live. There's no audio during this video. This is a continuation of Officer Garcia's video after the shooting had occurred. This is about 1 minute and 13 seconds later from the last clip that we showed you. Officers placed a chest seal and then started to immediately render aid on Joseph. The still shot shows the firearm that Joseph had. An officer was able to secure it underneath his boot during this interaction to make sure that Joseph or anyone else were able to grab that weapon. ShotSpotter also captured our officers firing the 2 rounds. This is that report. These are some of the scene photographs from that night. This is showing the security guard's car in front of the Love's gas station. These are the windows that were broken out inside of the Love's truck stop. Again, more shattered glass inside. The 2 yellow markers you see are where the security guards were standing when they fired. 1 marker was a live round that was ejected prior to the round being fired. The second marker is showing where the casing was collected from the security officer. In this photograph, this is where the officers' casings were found on 6th Street. Just a perspective of where Joseph was laying, or where he came to arrest after he was shot. I mentioned earlier that one of the rounds, likely the second round, penetrated an aluminum pole near the freeway. We were able to find that damage that came from one of the rounds. This is the .45 caliber handgun that Joseph was armed with at the time. We have completed an e-trace on it and identified the original purchaser of the firearm, which should happen in New Mexico in 2021. But we have not had a positive connection with that person to understand how the firearm transferred from his possession into Joseph's on this evening. The gun was also unloaded, but he had a magazine inside of his pocket. The gun was test fired, and fairly quickly, within about a day, I believe, we had a NIBIN lead for the firearm, showing that it was fired 8 times just a few hours before the officer-involved shooting. That shooting happened near Lead and Maple. Officers were dispatched during that shot spotter indication. They found the casings. They didn't see any clear damage. MEATF was able to connect that Joseph had an address in that area where he had prior domestic disturbance calls with a partner. Officers were dispatched that same night to go do a welfare check on her and all the occupants of the home. They were all fine and didn't indicate any damage, and didn't offer any additional evidence that evening. We believe Joseph likely shot the gun there in front of his home a few hours before coming to the Loves. We don't know why. Life-saving measures were attempted on Joseph, and he was transported to the University of New Mexico Hospital, but was pronounced deceased later on that morning. Over the next several months, the multi-agency task force will continue to investigate and analyze this incident. Detectives will interview any new witnesses that come forward and complete any forensic tests. After the investigation is complete, the case will be forwarded to the district attorney's office to make any determination of criminal charges. APD's Internal Affairs Force Division will also investigate the shooting to determine whether the department's policies were followed. The results of the administrative investigation will be forwarded to the city's Superintendent of Police Reform to make final decisions on discipline. APD's Force Review Board, made up of deputy chiefs, will also review the incident to identify trends and potential policy changes that may be needed in response to any shortcomings that are identified. Can help answer any questions. Yes, sir.
So police believe the gun was unloaded during the whole, like when he's like throwing it at the cars and the whole interaction.
We have no evidence that he fired it during any interaction at Love's, and when we found it, it was unloaded, including the magazine in his pocket.
And with the shots that happened, the 8 shots at the, did anyone witness that incident and like report that someone had been firing a gun outside, or he had, seen him maybe?
We haven't identified witnesses at this point. It was a shot spotter notification, so officers did get dispatched and they did collect the casings, but otherwise we might not have responded to it at all.
So just to clarify, the magazine didn't have any bullets in it? It was
Correct.
empty?
Correct. It was inside of his pocket, not in the firearm.
Right, but it didn't have bullets in the magazine?
It did not.
Okay, perfect. And then my other question, that first caller to 911, he mentioned that he shot at him. Was he just in distress? Because that shot never happened, right?
That's something that we always, recheck with witnesses on. The witness's perception is their perception, and their words might sometimes get mixed up. But we don't see any evidence right now that it was fired at the truck stop.
I wonder if he didn't hear the gun hit the car when he threw it, and he assumed that was a shot. That's just my assumption.
Can you say that on the mic?
You can't help but wonder if the victim possibly heard the firearm hit the car, and in his mind that was a bullet striking the car.
Yes, sir.
Searching Mr. Baca's property, was there any drugs or anything of that nature? And then OMI, I know that takes a little bit, but was he on any narcotics?
Off the top of my head, I don't recall if he had narcotics on him, but we can double check that. We do get toxicology back on everyone that does pass away from officer-involved shootings or in custody deaths. We don't have it on this one yet. Those can take several months, unfortunately. They're part of the final report, though. Sure.
Which me?
Yeah.
Do you know what OIS the officer was previously involved in?
Yes, he was involved in the OIS at Copper and 2nd Street in January, sometime in 2023, when we had an individual who, I think he was attempting suicide. Am I right?
I think it's
I'm
the year
right, Tom.
before.
The year before?
Oh, the one
20
downtown.
Right downtown.
where
Right
he,
downtown outside of the hotel? Yeah, when the subject
He,
drove
like,
up on them?
approached the-
I think that was it. I'm pretty sure that's it.
I can double check.
Double check, but I'm
And-
almost
And
positive.
the DA's office has that
I know.
case and they haven't issued a letter yet.
George said I'm right. Thumbs up?
Is that normal for them not to have issued a letter yet on a case?
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while. It takes a while. Yes, sir.
I apologize if I missed this. You guys had experience with the residents, the second residence where the 8 shots were fired. You guys have responded to calls there, but did you guys have any history on the suspect having a mental illness or anything like that?
Nothing in our immediate system. We had responded in the prior 12 to 18 months, but no arrests were made, no charges were filed, mostly just for disturbances between him and his partner. We went out that night proactively just to ensure everybody was safe because we saw 8 shots fired by the same gun that eventually we got into a shooting with. But everybody was fine.
That it? All right, have a good weekend. Thanks for being here.